You were there, you cried, you breathed for the first time, and you remember none of it. Not the lights, not the voices, not the hands that caught you. The most important day of your life happened, and your brain simply refused to file it away. Somewhere a memory should exist. It doesn't. Not because it was too painful, not because your mind is protecting you. The real answer is far stranger than that. Your brain wasn't broken on the day you were born. It just wasn't built yet. Think about your earliest memory right now. Go ahead. How old were you in it? For most people, the answer lands somewhere between age 3 and 4. Everything before that is silence. A birthday party you were told about? A photo you've seen so many times it feels like a memory, even though it isn't one. Scientists have a name for this gap. They call it infantile amnesia. Sigmund Freud was the first to give it that label, back in the early 1900s. He believed the missing years were repressed, buried by the mind on purpose. He was wrong about the reason, but he was right that something strange was happening in there. Here's the twist. Babies are not blank. They are not empty vessels waiting for the world to begin. A baby's brain is doing more learning per second than it will ever do again in its entire life. So if infants can learn, why can't they remember? Picture a mobile hanging over a crib, a simple toy spinning gently above a baby's face. In the 1980s, a researcher named Carolyn Rovee-Collier tied a ribbon from that mobile to a baby's ankle, kicked the leg, and the mobile spins. Babies as young as 2 or 3 months old figured this out almost instantly. Kick, spin, spin. They learned the connection. Weeks later, she brought the babies back. She hung the same mobile above them, but this time without the ribbon attached, and the babies kicked anyway. They remembered. Not perfectly, not for long, but long enough to prove something important. Infants can hold on to memories. The wiring for storage is already there, so the memory exists somewhere. It just doesn't survive. This is where the story gets interesting. Your brain, in its first years of life, is less like a library and more like a construction site. Neurons are multiplying at a staggering rate. Connections are forming and dissolving by the millions every single day. There's a part of your brain called the hippocampus, and it acts like a filing cabinet for long-term memories. In a newborn, that filing cabinet is still being built. The drawers don't lock, the labels haven't been written yet. A researcher named Patricia Bauer, who has spent decades studying how memory develops in young children, found something remarkable. The ability to store a memory and the ability to hold onto it long-term are two separate skills. A toddler might remember an event for a few weeks. A 5-year-old might remember the same kind of event for years. The hardware keeps upgrading well into early childhood. Every year, the filing cabinet gets a few more working drawers, but there's another piece to this puzzle, and it has nothing to do with neurons. It has to do with language. Try to remember something from your life without using words. Not a single one. Hard, isn't it? Most human memories are wrapped in language. You don't just remember a birthday party, you remember the story of it, the sentence you'd tell a friend. Before you could speak in full sentences, you had no scaffolding to hang a memory on. The moment existed, but you had no way to encode it into something your future self could retrieve. This means something oddly beautiful. Your earliest memories didn't vanish because you were too young to feel them. They vanished because you were too young to tell yourself the story of them. Now here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Infantile amnesia doesn't end the day you turn 3 or 4. It fades slowly like a tide going out. And here's the twist that most people never learn. Even the memories you do have from early childhood aren't fixed recordings. They are rebuilt every single time you recall them. Neuroscientists have found that memory retrieval is closer to reconstruction than playback. Every time you remember your 5th birthday, you are not replaying a video. You are rewriting it slightly based on who you are today. So that hazy memory of your 3rd birthday cake, some of it may be real. Some of it may be a photograph you saw at age 8, quietly merged into the story your brain tells about itself. Why does any of this matter? Because it means the you of today is not built on a foundation of raw footage. It's built on a foundation of stories, and some of the earliest chapters were written by other people. Your parents telling you what you were like as a baby, the framed photo on the wall, the home video you've watched so many times it replaced the actual event in your mind. There's a strange comfort hiding inside all of this. You didn't lose your first years because something went wrong. You lost them because your brain was busy doing something more important. It was building the machinery that would let you remember everything that came after. The first years of your life were not about creating memories. They were about creating the ability to have them at all. Think about what that means the next time you watch a baby staring, wide-eyed at a ceiling fan or a ray of sunlight. That baby isn't storing the moment the way you would, but somewhere in that tiny skull, wiring is happening. Connections are being laid down that will one day let a 4-year-old remember a trip to the beach and let a 30-year-old remember that same 4-year-old telling the story for the first time. You will never get those early years back. No amount of hypnosis, no amount of therapy, no amount of staring at old photographs photographs will unlock a memory that was never fully written in the first place. That door isn't locked. It was never built. And maybe that's not something to mourn. Maybe it's something to marvel at. Somewhere in your first few years of life, in total silence, without a single memory being kept, your brain quietly built the entire system that would let you remember every year that followed. The tool came before the record. The camera was being assembled before it ever took a photo. So tonight, when you think back to something small, a conversation from last week, the way a room smelled when you walked into it as a teenager, remember this. That memory only exists because a version of you decades earlier was busy in the dark, wiring together the very ability to hold on to anything at all. You were there on the day you were born. You just weren't finished yet.